Hey, this is the World Advice Channel 2. What I want to talk about today is a topic of could we ever live in a perfect society? So for this video, I'm going to discuss the topic of could we live in a perfect society when it comes to nations that are developed like Canada, America, UK, Japan, and so on and so forth in a simple and straightforward way so anyone can understand, okay? So now that I mentioned that, let's get started. So when it comes to answering the question of could we ever live in a perfect society, the simple answer to that question is yes, okay? Now when it comes to the topic of living in a perfect world that obviously is tied into this utopianism, no, we can never live in a perfect world, okay? There's just no way it could ever happen. There's so many ways things can go wrong. And even if things were literally perfect, you know, some way, somehow, someone's gonna fuck it up, okay? So no, we're not talking about the idea of a perfect world, but what we're talking about is a topic of nations that are already developed, but they have a system that fundamentally is perfect, you know, when it comes to the way they govern the nation. And that's the answer to the question is yes, okay? And the reason why I say that is because when it comes to all of the different issues that make up a society, whether it comes down to things like infrastructure, another one obviously could be social rules, socially, whatever you like to say. Let's just say the social fabric of a society. Third one could be obviously another one that obviously makes a lot of sense. Financially, health, whatever. But specifically these three ones I mentioned, you know, these three main ones that I mentioned before I mentioned the fourth point, okay? Those, you know, ones are the examples I'm going to use for this video, okay? There's other things as well, but specifically those three I'm going to use. And the simple answer to the question is I definitely believe we could live in a perfect world, okay? I mean a perfect society. Perfect society, okay? Whether it comes down to infrastructure, like having the best quality infrastructure, you know, like, for example, you know, you can actually go to public bathrooms and they're actually not disgusting, because like the toilets are strong enough to flush anything that goes in it, so you can actually use it and not have to see shit everywhere, let alone the toilet as well. So you, of course, better quality buildings, so you never have to worry about the buildings collapsing. Just everything you can imagine when it comes to the quality infrastructure, to, of course, having a good social fabric, you know, like we can actually, for the first time ever, yay, live in a society where you can watch whatever you want to watch and do not have to worry about somebody telling you, oh, do not watch this stuff, you know, like the whole argument has been going forever. Should we ban video games? Should we ban violent media in general? You know, like TV shows, movies, and of course, like I was saying before, video games, like all that type of stuff that's been going on for years, and there's been a lot of attempts to do it, as well as freedom of speech. That kind of relates to the social fabric of a society, you know, to even having a boss who actually freaking pays, you know, the money you want exactly without fucking you over all the goddamn time. Like all those things, you know, that people care about, okay? You know, there's other things as well, but the examples I gave, you know, are out of all of them numerous ones, are definitely things that are very, very, very important. You know, like all those things, I definitely believe, to answer your question, yes, I do believe at this point, to answer your question, I truly believe we could live in a perfect world, okay? To be quite honest with you, okay? If the government were to actually, well, do shit, okay, to be quite honest with you, okay? Now the question, of course, that would come up is how would this even happen? Well, I believe it could happen, you know, besides, of course, this video is more to satisfy your curiosity. You know, of course, if you click on this video, you're obviously curious as to know if it could ever happen. I definitely believe it could happen if they were to create a fundamental system of rules that should never be broken. I believe it could happen, to be quite blunt and honest with you. And the truth of the matter is, you know, alongside that point, there's a fundamental set of rules. There, you know, fundamental set of rules of how things should be governed. There could also be a fundamental set of rules of laws that could be broken, that shouldn't be broken. Because the thing about the politicians is that they are so good, a lot of them at least, at fucking everything up, you know? Because there's certain fundamental principles, you know, that make up life that should never be taken away from you. Whether it comes down to things like your right to defending yourself, the right to obviously taking care of the environment, okay, the right to freedom of speech, and so on and so forth, all that type of stuff, okay? You know, those are things that are basic rules that should never really be challenged, okay? There's other ones as well, but for these rules, I'm just using as an example, okay? Those are definitely some of the very important ones that should never be challenged, okay? But a lot of these politicians are always challenging things, okay? You know, should we ban guns and stuff is one of the things that a lot of politicians always say, we should ban guns, which is just like, okay, come on, man. Like, why are we still having this argument? Sometimes people need to defend themselves and not everybody in the world knows how to fight. Like, why the fuck are we still having this argument? Should we ban guns? There's a difference between gun limitations, you know, like on what type of guns you're able to get. Like, why does an everyday person need like a fully automatic AK-47? But at the same time, you know, we also make it clear that we're not going to ban guns, which is something they've been doing for fucking ever now. You know, we should ban guns, we should ban guns, we should ban guns. A lot of liberals are like that. They actually want to ban guns, but the more you ban guns, it makes it more likely people will be able to protect themselves, let alone the environment. Obviously, we need an environment in order to keep us alive. Like, we need the oxygen in the air to keep us breathing, which, if we don't take care of the environment, is going to fuck things up. Let alone, if we don't have freedom of speech, you might have a terrible government who fuck up everything, you know, and you won't be able to complain about it. Those are some of the issues that we obviously, you know, or I should say some of the rights that should always be guaranteed, and no party should be able to politicize it. In other words, say that, you know, we're going to take away your rights for this particular issue, one of those three things I mentioned. And the government officials tend to do this all the time. If a government could clearly write it in law to stop those things from happening, you know, even though anything can happen, yes, I know the old saying, nothing is written in stone, but if they could prevent that stuff from happening, they could come with a fundamental list of rules and stuff, you know, for how things should be run, you know, for different things, whether it be the principles of society or even certain rights that shouldn't be taken away, things like that. You get the point, you know, in honesty. Then we can actually live in a world that is never going to suck. Yes, we're not going to agree on everything as a society, but for the most part, it will be a lot better. And literally, your everyday life of everyday people will be a lot happier and better without having any worries or this and that about, you know, things coming up. You know, to be quite blunt and honest with you. Now, would people's lives always be perfect on an individual level? Absolutely not. You know, yes, there's going to be people who are unhappy with their lives. They wish they had more. There's going to be people who get caught up in car crashes and so on and so forth. And as a result, their family members are grieving. They experience tragedies, all that type of shit. But for the most part, for, you know, to be quite blunt and honest with you, aside from that, you know, aside from on a personal level, on a overall level, you know, of how the government structure works, yes, it could actually be, okay? So the truth of the matter is, yes, I do believe things could be perfect, okay? Which for the most part would still benefit people, even though life on an individual level might not be perfect, because you can live in a society where you can actually take a break and enjoy things without having to worry about the constant stress of having your liberties taken away, you know, people arguing with each other, people who were once good friends, and even family members starting to grow to hate each other over issues, which obviously is no fun. You know, to many other issues that can come up, you know, and just be able to do pretty much whatever you want to do, you know, and so on and so forth, you know, and that's exactly what I'm trying to say here. So in short, to answer your question, yes, we could live in a perfect society. You know, if you're curious to know about it, you know, the question of this topic, yes, we could. If we could create a fundamental list of rules of what shouldn't be broken, then I believe it could happen. potentially, okay? So now that I've mentioned that, there's just one more thing I want to discuss towards the end of this video, which is a lesson that people need to learn from life, okay? The truth of the matter is, when it comes to the lesson of life in general as a whole, the politicians of the world can do better, okay? The politicians of the world can do better, to be honest with you. And people should always expect the best for politicians and not just settle for mediocrity, okay? Because the truth is, as you see through this video, things can really have a peak with how good it can be. So to answer your question, yes, I do believe absolutely we should put more pressure on politicians so we can eventually reach the best society we can live in, you know, and as a result, maybe even live in a world like this. Okay, so in short, expect the best from politicians and don't just expect them to just give you a half-ass you know response, okay, when it comes to their job. And that is all I have to say for this video, and simply put, I'm out. Bye.